Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I am really glad to be here. And a couple of words about myself. Venky Kandaswamy. I've worked for 20 plus years in AI and data analytics, et cetera, from Silicon Valley. I'm based out of San Francisco. I am currently working with a startup company, Sleekfin Inc. And our goal is to create digital real estate marketplaces and to leverage non-fungible tokens to actually have fractional ownership, and also to open up the financing market to peer-to-peer financing and kind of challenge the bigger banks, if you will. So that's a little bit about me.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Huma Ejaz, and basically I'm a CPA by profession. But 5-6 years ago, I accidentally found a consulting project for a tech startup. And that's how I got to know what technology side of the business is and how I can, as a financial consultant, add value to it. So what I saw, it was a lot of numbers, mixing with numbers and creating more numbers. So it was like a very creative thing. So since then, I've been working for technology startups for like maybe 20, 30, 40 startups I've already worked with, for especially in the COVID times when we were all sitting home and everybody was trying to find some solution tech-based, all tech-based. And then obviously the things evolved, and now we are working on everything that has to be tech. Every business plus tech is the word, and that's how I work in Saudi Arabia, and I'm mainly working in an advisory firm where we actually deal with different sort of transactions, finding investors, fundraising for companies. So the main focus, what I have seen, specifically for Saudi market as well, what we focus on is how is it solving a problem and how it's impacting lives in a progressive way. So I can see, obviously everybody knows that's the future of, AI and predictive analysis is basically the prediction for, it's going to be the future for everything, every business as well. So now what the criteria mainly is how actually you're solving a problem with the technology. And that's how I think the word has emerged.
Exactly. And the whole aspect of leveraging analytics has evolved quite a bit. If you look at it, maybe 20 years ago, it was all about collecting data about how much this property sold for, or what are the current prevailing market conditions at that time. From there, we have actually evolved to trying to predict where the market is going to go in terms of real estate, in terms of the price. So I'm just focusing on the finance market. And here today, the challenge is to use predictive analytics to say how much your home is going to be actually worth when you're ready to sell it. Now, most of the time you go into a real estate market, the prevalent pricing is set by how much did your neighbor's house sell, or how much did the neighborhood sell. So that is a good indication. However, there are intrinsic values in the house itself that could either add a premium or decrease the premium on it. Like, for example, you might have solar panels, you might have green sustainable things, etc. And if you look at how people try to find real estate, these kind of things are really hard, because probably if you go to a real estate listing, there is just like one line, say you have high efficiency toilets, or you have high efficiency solar panels. And predictive analytics and AI changes all of that. So instead of actually going to a neighborhood and looking at all the houses that are available for sale and trying to pick one you like, you're going to change that whole thing topsy-turvy. You do the upside down. In other words, you use AI to say what you really like, and the AI is going to go and find what the best neighborhoods are and what properties that will actually match you. Given this, I would like to ask you, like, how do they do that in the place where you live?
Real estate is specifically in investments point of view. Okay, so basically what I have seen is not just generally real estate, overall all the businesses. Obviously, I was working for one of the projects. I'm from Pakistan mainly, but working in Saudi Arabia. So what we did was for the whole country, we were actually doing geotagging for all the real estate properties. So that was actually, pinpointing every location, and and that actually led us to identify which areas we can have more business opportunities, like small maybe fuel stations, small pharmacies. And so not just only real estate, I think it actually covers the whole landscape. And since I work for the company I'm working for, what I've seen is we are basically trying to invest in different companies, and most of them are, since it's also, my company is also a Chinese-based company. So what we do is we are bringing all the technologies, be it real estate, be it education, health, tech, you name it. So we are bringing all these technologies mainly from China, Hong Kong, or maybe some few from Japan as well. And we are actually finding the right place for the Saudi or the MENA region. And I think that's how the investment is actually flowing towards this side. That people are actually looking for sustainable investments, at the same time finding technologies to invest in, because obviously it's like the revenues are multiple. It's huge multiples. If you sell your startups, the tech startups, you get a lot of, you can just take an exit, or most of the startups are actually going to IPOs as well. So I think, and of course real estate as well, but the whole landscape of investment is actually changed because of technology.
Right. Talking about technology, when it comes to financing and the use of data and predictive analytics, one of the big things that banks want to know is how much is the customer really worth. Now, you can sell a mortgage to a customer, but he can go around and get another mortgage in 6 months, or what we call refinance, which means your bank has actually lost the business. So when you calculate the interest rates, et cetera, and other compensations that you get from the customer, you're looking at basically how long is this person actually going to be with the bank to keep the mortgage. Now, long term, he might take 20 years to pay off his home, but is he going to be in your bank for 20 years and give you that money? So where predictive analytics is coming in very handy right now is to actually see and track the customer, even though he may move from bank to bank, to say, what is the average time he's going to be there? What are the conditions why he is switching? What are the motivations that you can give him to actually stay in your bank in terms of incentives, et cetera? So this is actually a big area. And that's one of the things that my company focuses on also. And a lot of other companies in America focus on this. There are, of course, privacy issues about tracking people across things. But one of the important things is that mortgage information is public, so you do know when somebody's financing and how much they have financed and when they're switching. So from that perspective, I wonder how it works in Pakistan and the Middle East and MENA countries in terms of trying to understand what a customer is worth to a financier.
Okay, so to be honest, if you check the numbers, so currently the most of the population in the world is towards China, India. Let's not count Pakistan, but India and China has the most population. And what I've seen is most of the companies are planning to invest in either in China or in India, and obviously Pakistan as well, because the people under 35 years of age are a lot in numbers. Specifically, I think in Saudi, 65% of the population is under 35. So this becomes a very interesting and lucrative market because of the young generation, and obviously the technology adoption is very quick and already adopted. I mean, in my case, I'm not a very tech savvy person, and I'm not into downloading app for every solution. I mean, but now when I moved to Saudi, even for house cleaning, I download an app and book somebody on my convenience. So I think obviously since the new generation, they just want to, have everything done on the mobile phone. So it becomes sometimes it becomes very, from a common man's perspective, it becomes a bit, I mean, I'm not very fan of technology, but at the same time, it's a lot convenient as well. And I think the next generations are going to, forget about the traditional ways of doing business. Now, for example, there are certain businesses, they don't have stores, they don't have, a physical presence. All you need to do is download our app.
Well, continuing on that, the younger generation, as you would call it, it's more about having an experience when you buy real estate. It's not about just looking at a home and buying it, although a lot of people do that. So in this age of where you have so much information and data around you, like for example, one of the things is that when you look at a neighborhood or at a property, you can also see what is in the neighborhood, what is around the neighborhood, what is so exciting about the neighborhood. And if you have a certain lifestyle, how is it going to support your lifestyle? Or how is it actually going to enhance your lifestyle of your children or your family who may be interested? So that is what I mean by having an experience when you're shopping for real estate. And a lot of the mobile apps and other real estate platforms are heading towards building that. In other words, you want to be able to immerse the customer in a reality where he actually thinks he's living in the neighborhood. So he can say, okay, where is my closest set of ATMs? Where's my bus stations? Where's my train stations? And what kind of doctors are there? What is my medical condition? I want to see somebody. My temples or my mosques or churches or whatever you want. Now, if you think about it, if you go to just a real estate agent, that real estate agent is probably giving you all this information, because that is one of the reasons why you go to a top flight real estate agent. It's been a human to human interaction. And AI and predictive analytics is trying to change that. I don't want to say we're trying to replace the real estate agent, but clearly it's an augmented piece of information that helps both parties, and it's a win-win situation. And I'm saying, when you talk about applications in this area, are they proceeding to do something like that?
Yes, obviously. This brings me to a very interesting topic. I would like everybody to, share your thoughts on it. I mean, there's a very interesting perspective of always investing in real estate because your money is safe, you make a lot of money. But with the younger population, and if I count myself a bit in the younger population, I am actually building business, digital assets. And this is basically the future of, it's not visible, obviously not intangible, but still it's like paying you a lot of money. If you look at the younger generation, they are more, inclined towards building their own digital assets, and rather than traditional real estate prices, which are, going. You have to spend at least 20 years to buy a very, lavish house. I mean, if I talk about myself that I'll be saving this much money, then I'll be, buying a lavish house in some nice place. So with the younger generation, obviously we are not very keen on saving, and we are more about living life, experiencing life, and making money as well. So that's also changing. I mean, a lot of people invest on themselves, or on building the digital platforms these days. I mean, you name it, there are like at least 4, 5, 6 platforms that I use to build my digital assets. So the investment, if you see the investment trend is also emerging, moving from real estate to different sort of assets, and which I just mentioned, the digital assets. So this is an emerging trend as well. So I think in the coming years, maybe a few years, people will be investing in these assets. I mean, talking about, so basically when I analyze investors, I see that, there's an age group, and there's this risk takers, and obviously, for example, in my case, I'm very keen on making profits early. I cannot just, put my money and wait for 10 years to be rich. I would like to be rich. I would just open up my mobile app every morning and see how much profit I've made this yesterday. So this is how the trend is. So and obviously with the passage of time, I think the very mature investors I meet, obviously very settled business people, they mostly have a lot of money. And they're very conservative when, pardon my language, but they're more concerned about, returns in the long run, maybe, and they're more, take less risk, invest in real estate, but with the younger generation, not very young generation, the between younger and the 40s and 50s generation, they are mainly concerned and making decisions based on taking risk, a moderate risk or maybe sometime high risk, and at the same time, not very keen on investing for a long time. I mean, not saving in your pension funds and stuff. So I think this would be a huge trend for the coming generations, and especially with the younger generation getting to know about, how to make quick money.
Yeah. Yes, and in this age when you can actually make digital payments and stuff very quickly, there are a lot of financial instruments that could save money not only for the borrower or the person, but also for the person financing the loan. Like, for example, a traditional mortgage, you're paying every month, basically, and your interest is computed every month. But you could also pay every week the same amount of money, but you're going to save on interest. So it means you're saving money. Now, the real question is, what opportunity does it provide for the financier and the person who borrows it? Like, not every borrower is going to be offered that. So people in the lending organizations, they use data to see, can we make this offer to this person at a slightly higher interest rate, which is an incentive. Now, not only do they save money, they also get, the lender makes more money too. So those kind of new financial instruments are being facilitated by this age of having more data.
Right. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me? I just have a question around fractional ownership. So I know in the region, the fractional ownership is not happening, or the adoption is very slow on any scale. From your discussion, sounds like as if it's happening in the West much faster. I know even in the Europe, the fractional ownership of real estate is not happening. So what are the key challenges you would say industry is facing in adoption of fractional ownership? Because I would love to see that happening on ground, and I don't see any challenges, to be very honest, but somehow the adoption is resisted by the investors, which are small-scale investment. So any thoughts on that?
Can I take that question? Yes, so you're right. Fractional ownership is not prevalent on the ground, not even in the US, not here, not anywhere. And one of the biggest challenges to that is, one, government regulations that are present. And the second thing is, even though you can go obtain a fractional ownership of your property, the question is, how does it get registered and tracked? Let me give you like more down-to-earth example, okay? I have a home, and I have a mortgage. Today, traditionally, what happens is it's registered with your local government organization, like in India, for example, with your local village office. And your loan is entered there as an encumbrance, like it's a lien. In the US, it will be a lien. So anybody who looks at your title knows immediately that somebody has a lien on that title. Now, if you were to convert this to a non-fungible token, which actually is a very unique title on your home that exists in the digital realm on the blockchain, nobody can mess with it, nobody can duplicate it, nobody can do it. It's like a complete, reliable timestamp. So it's a non-fungible token. However, that token even though you own it, the guy who actually lent you the money on your property doesn't know about it. So the biggest challenge is how do you make sure that you put a lien on that NFT to show that somebody else has owned it? And the reason I'm saying this is, why do you want to actually get your property on a ownership, digital ownership? It's because you want to have fractional ownership. In other words, you're a joint family. You have, two siblings, maybe a brother and a sister, and your ancestral home, your parents have passed away, and you've inherited it. So each of you have 1/3 of that property. Now tell me how you're going to go to your government office where the property is registered and tell them it's 1/3 for each person. There is no way today. The only thing you can do is divide that house into 3 pieces and get separate registration numbers and register it. But what fractional ownership provides you with the NFT is you can say, okay, each of these people own 1/3 of it. And that is the beauty of it. Now, your sister, who may have 1/3 of it, can go sell it to somebody else without, any hassle. The government, of course, like your local office, still thinks it's one property. Whereas, when you have the fractional ownership, you can borrow against it, you can sell against it, etc. That is the advantage. However, in order to get there, we have to have support from the local registration agencies where it says, okay, this property also has an NFT, and there's fractional ownership on it. There's so many people. Just like if you register a company, there are shareholders, right? That's a very established process. You have to file a form saying so many people own so many percentage of the shares. That doesn't exist in real estate. So that is what we are trying to change with the fractional ownership and NFTs. And some of the challenges is to actually make that happen, and that's why it's not becoming prevalent. I hope I answered your question.
Any other question?
Any other questions?
Hi. So with AI and predictive analytics, right? A lot of companies will use this for hiring practices. One thing that we have learned is that it can miss a lot of things. For potentially good employees, one thing that we learned from COVID was like a lot of people were willing to change their job, from one thing to something completely different, right? And that's not necessarily something that AI HR would be able to pick up on. Like, why is this maybe teacher applying for this banking job, right? So, like, what do you think the dangers are? I know predictive analytics in itself can be very, difficult to sort of predict, as it were. What do you feel like without that actual human interaction that it might be able to miss? You know what I mean? Like how much, or because it's just really dealing with numbers and whatever the person who creates the program inputs into it, right? So my fear is that it can miss a lot of things. Like it wouldn't necessarily, a computer wouldn't necessarily understand like a COVID situation. Does that make sense? So I just wondering, like, without the human interaction, like how can this stuff be applied?
Okay, I'll tell you a very interesting and realistic insight towards your question. So a few years ago, one of my very close friends / colleague, she told me that, if you have to be picked, your CV has to be picked, you have to be shortlisted for the interview, all you have to do is copy paste all the job description mentioned in the job on the LinkedIn or whatever, wherever the job is posted, and put all these words in your CV, and the AI will pick you. You'll get a chance for interview, and that's how it goes. So now, obviously, everybody who's hunting for a job understands this thing. So in this way, you're just eager to go for an interview, to convince the client to hire you, and most of the times you can just make up stories as well. So I think that's the downside of the AI. I mean, if it's a real HR person who's able to see the job you've done in your past experience and the kind of exposure you have, and are you the suitable fit for or not. So from an employee perspective, yes, it's a very good chance to go and prove yourself, or get a interview invite but at the other end, for the HR employer perspective, it's costing company a lot of money because you might be ending up picking up the wrong candidates. So I think, again, since I was born or I was a very young girl, I've seen AI has to be clubbed with human judgment. So this cannot go all alone. So I think we still need people to make the reasonable judgments before, and obviously use AI as a tool. But I think we need to further refine the AI tools that we are using to understand and avoid such sort of things.
Yeah, I mean, there is a bad side to AI also. As you're well aware, there's an initiative in the US to stop all AI development for the next 2 years because it's just going too fast. And there have been cases where people use ChatGPT to generate, in fact, one of the lawyers generated an entire argument for his case, including references and everything that looked very real, and presented it to the judge. And then they went out and found that a lot of the references were fake. So the question now is, it's going to be becoming more and more difficult to see what is real and what is not real. And that's going to be a big challenge.
I have to add one more thing. I am actually teaching a student of MBA. So I'm teaching him corporate finance. So he came up to me with the whole solution of a question, a very detailed case study, and he said, this is the solution. I said, okay, where did you get it? It was correct. It was all correct. I said, where did you get it? ChatGPT. I said, okay, do you understand this? No. But it would help him pass the exam. But we are not creating intelligent, smart people then. So obviously, making life easy has a cost as well, which we might have to pay in future.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to artificial intelligence and the predictive analysis, if you look at the financial or the corporate world, the most of the fund managers, those sitting and taking very, the heavy, huge salary, but the most of the input for their decision making coming from artificial intelligence and the predictive analysis. Computers are running very, very complex, using so many parameters, factors, and everything humanly impossible to compute it. With that, and using all the high-end algorithms, they come with the decision, and based on then they'll okay, this we can go to this market, or this is the political risk less, and this stock is fine, and everything. But as compared to that, what we don't see it in the lot of artificial intelligence and the predictive analysis on the real estate investment sector. Do you think that any challenges that is stopping, the heavily use as compared to the finance world?
If I understand you correctly, you're asking what are the data safety standards that are in
not
place?
the safety standard. Why is it not so matured or advanced when it comes to the real estate investment in using the artificial intelligence, as compared to the fund managers who are using the artificial intelligence and AI tools?
I'm sorry, I still didn't get
No,
your
I'm
question.
saying that do you see that the artificial intelligence and the predictive analysis. Suppose I want to invest in Apple, or I want to go to the another so Indian stock market, for example. So conventionally, we need to study so many fundamental technical factors and everything, just and come with that, okay, this is the safe bet to go and invest in that region. But now, we don't have to do anything. We just, there are a lot of applications using the artificial intelligence to come to the conclusion to facilitate the fund manager to take the decision.
Yeah.
But as compared to that, but if you apply the similar logic, we don't see that kind of the advanced the artificial intelligence or the predictive analysis techniques and tools either not developed or used in the real estate side.
Okay, I get it. So, you mean you could use artificial intelligence and predictive analytics for a lot of things, but the word prediction is actually a misnomer. AI doesn't predict anything. AI is going to give you an indication of what is going to happen based on past experience. So it has actually learned patterns from the past, and using those patterns, it can predict like what could likely happen. The whole point of it is that in our world, unpredictability is real. You know, it's chaos theory, right? So things will happen that we don't account for. COVID is a big example of what happened, right? No artificial intelligence could have predicted COVID will happen. I mean, that's in a very dramatic example. But to go to your question, for example, predicting how a stock will behave, to an extent, yes, AI can predict and do some things, but it cannot really predict all of the market conditions. And that is why still a human analysis based on prevalent conditions is very important. And in terms of financial instruments, there is a lot of value still placed on human insight, what we call experience. But the experience can be augmented by tools, by AI tools, by analytics and data, but it does not replace that human insight. Like the person who has worked 20 years, like you go to an auto mechanic, right? They have little things that they plug into the car, it'll tell you what's wrong with your car. But to fix your car, it really takes an experienced mechanic because he can look at it and say, hey, this is the best way to fix it. And that is experience. Today we are at an age where that kind of experience can be replicated using AI, ChatGPT, etc. But it is based on past experience. And it can generate, so this is generative AI, right? So based on past experience, it can generate new experiences for you, but how many of those experiences are actually real? We don't know. But if you take that kind of thing and apply it to your real life, I think you might have a little bit of a challenge. I mean, today you can go ask ChatGPT, say, what is the best stock can I buy tomorrow? It's going to give you an answer. And would you go actually buy it? Probably not. So we have to treat these as tools. And like any tool, it's in the hands of the people who are using it. And it takes the expertise and the skill of the worker to make it successful. Mm-hmm.
Good evening. My question is like the predictive analysis and the investments in the age of artificial intelligence. What is your opinion, say, in next 10 years, the demand of commercial spaces like office and all, it's going to go down or it's going to go up? And what the future, you relate the future with this? I hope I have made myself clear. Like with the artificial intelligence coming in, so demand is going to increase or demand is going to decrease of commercial spaces. So it is beneficial to invest in commercial spaces, or the prices are going to go down or go up?
Okay, so your question is with the coming of AI, is the utilization of commercial spaces going to go up or go down? In the next 10 years. Right. So, of course, with the COVID, there's a lot of people working from home. So we will discount that. You know, that's a unique phenomenon that's probably going to change. Now, most of our work environments and industry requires interaction. Like you cannot just sit at home and do what you want to do, right? Like someone like me, probably I can do it for a while because I'm just working with computers some other time. But any creativity that has to happen, creative endeavors normally materialize in teamwork. And you can create that teamwork using technology. Maybe you have virtual spaces where people get together. Yes, that's true. But how much of that is going to actually replace a creative team being in a room, you know, working together is an open question. Like I know, like I've worked for other companies like Google and stuff, where people like we are there 24/7. everything is taken care of for you, all the food and like, they do your laundry, they do your haircut, not for me, of course, but for other people. And so the reality is that if you want creative workspaces where a team is building something new and unique, then you probably want to be in an office space. And to answer your question, a lot of the automation and et cetera is going to take over routine, manual, like repetitive work. So real creative work is going to happen, and interaction has to be there. And I believe that there will be a lot of use for commercial spaces.
I think there could be two aspects of this question. The first is your decision-making process. For example, if you have more information about certain area and you are going to make a decision about purchasing the property, selling, buying, and the whole real estate game, that is the first is getting the information, the correct information about certain area, and the other angle is how artificial intelligence is going to build, like we were talking about, smart cities and cognitive cities. So if we are
is slightly different. The question is like I'm a builder. So because you're a panelist, I'm just asking you whether the demand is going to go up or on the same pace or going to go down, because artificial intelligence is certainly going to affect the demand and supply criteria. So just view on that, like sir has given, that it will keep on moving with the same pace. Your view on the same, or it will fall down?
Real estate prices are always going up. No matter what, it takes us some time, depending on the world economy, then it's again going up. And I think there are a few people here, and I met some Chinese companies as well, who are using artificial intelligence to build solutions for construction projects, mainly getting into precisions and planning the whole construction process. So that is actually built by the whole the AI system, and then obviously you're moving towards construction or real estate development. So I think it goes hand in hand, and obviously AI is going to affect it no matter what. And what I predict is, or I can see is, the cities or those societies or the areas which will be using AI or improving lives of humans, would definitely, the prices would go up, because they're providing more facilities and comfort of life. And most of us, I mean, in like 50 years, we might forget the traditional ways of construction. A lot of us.
Although I want to add one more thing to the future use of commercial spaces. I don't think that many of the things are going to be 9 to 5. We are traditionally, work in places where you go into the office in the morning and you leave in the evening and go do other things. I think that is going to change. I think the use of commercial spaces has to actually help the lifestyle of the people and have a better work-life balance, etc. So there's going to be a lot of more flexible approaches to the work environment, and also space sharing. Nowadays, we find that you can't fit all of your employees in a building. It's just not possible, either because of cramped spaces or because of traffic or commute restrictions. Nobody wants to drive 2 hours each way just to get to work. So the future commercial spaces have to take into account that there has to be work-life balance in a different way. And technology and AI and everything is facilitating that, facilitating virtual teams, virtual things. But it has to work in conjunction with commercial spaces that also support that kind of endeavor. Like, for example, if you have an air-conditioned building, normally you turn off the AC in the night. That can't happen, because there might be people working 24 hours a day. So how do you build a sustainable environment, a sustainable building, where you can actually facilitate those things? So there's challenges for the developers, such as yourself, who are building these commercial spaces, is how are you going to support environments where it's no longer going to be a 9 to 5 work environment?
This is Dr. Paritosh Shrivastava. I'm basically from India. I have a company in the real estate.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Myself, Dr. Paritosh Srivastava. I have one firm in the real estate, Six Sigma name. I have one question. Question is that ki prediction depends upon various factors. Suppose you want to predict of increase of the demand or decrease of the demand, whatever will be there. It depends upon various factors like population, like what is the infrastructure growth coming into that area. So I think other than that, these are the certain things. There are various uncertain things like earthquake may come in that area, flood may come in that area. So still I believe कि AI cannot predict up to 100% or 50% correction. Because in the corona, when corona comes, the price of the property may decrease in some country due to corona, fear of the corona. Again, it will increase. So what is your view? If AI work perfectly in the real estate in future? If yes, in which area it will be adopted? If not, then why?
I understand your question. No, AI is not perfect. In fact, at the end of the day, what it is computing is a probability that some event is going to happen. And all of us, from our high school math, we know probability is...
Because I just want to add one thing. IIT Kanpur has predicted corona model. Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, one professor has predicted about the corona, rate of the increase of corona, rate of decrease of the corona. But that doesn't work properly. Rather, we can say it is not work. This is, they suggested one model on the basis of some data, corona, but what I observed, that model will not work. Corona will suddenly increase. So still I think AI can help in real estate, but it cannot be substitute of human intelligence or human input. What is your...
Of course, it's not going to replace human intelligence, because human intelligence created AI in the first place, right? And if there are people that, what they call the futurists, that talk about the impact of AI. There's books being written where they think eventually human race is going to be a cyber or cyborg system, where there's so much technology and stuff that's coming that you can no longer differentiate between a machine and a human being. And today that is true. If you like a Turing machine and things, there are tests that will say whether it's operating as a human or not. But we have to understand that this was all created by us, right? So no, I don't think it's going to replace us. So human, it is important.
Creation cannot be bigger than the creator.
I don't want to get into that topic, but I'm sure that there will still be value for people like us. We have to, I'm sure we will have a job.
Thank you.
I think there is one more I would like to add to this. No matter whatever tools you have, how intelligent human brain is, there is one point, there are certain things that you would never be able to predict.
Yeah,
For
true.
example, just a small example, the plates, the tectonic plates in
movement,
the earth are all the time moving. So certain areas are going to be so much affected by earthquakes that they might get unfit to be, in future maybe might be unfit to live in those places, or, you never know when the lava bursts and, create new islands. And so there is a huge possibility, not in artificial intelligence, not human brain can predict these things. So obviously prediction is not exactly, you cannot predict anything except that we all have to die one day.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Really, thank you all. Appreciate you giving us this time.